Shri Sai Ram, Gita Vahini, by Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba, Chapter 9, Significance of the Caste System, Varna Vyavastha. In the spiritual path, though Chitta Shuddhi or purity of mind is the primary aspect, Varna Vyavastha or the organization of the four Varnas or four classes and social norms too are very important for smooth functioning of the world. It, that is the Varna Vyavastha, can never be blown off by ridicule, criticism or condemnation, for the welfare of the world is paramount for all. So, the rulers and the scholars must calmly delve into it without any haste and maintain Varna Vyavastha in a reasonable manner. That is the right thing to do. It is not proper that wise men and intelligent scholars should support the meaningless criticisms of the envious and the ignorant on the Varna Vyavastha. Those who deny caste are themselves forming a new caste. Those who deny religion are themselves forming a new religion, isn't it? But still, when it comes to this matter, even those who know much become prejudiced and talk as if they are ignorant as the rest. That is the wonder. Every object has certain limits. If it exceeds or breaks through the limits, it gets destroyed. What is the test of its identity? The coordination between its swabhavam or nature and its swarupam or form. If it has the form but not the nature, then it is unreal or false. So too, if each varga or class has no special limit called swabhavam or nature, how can it be identified as a class? It will be neither this nor that, like a Trishanku Swargam, midway to heaven, uncomfortable condition. This Varna Vyavastha is the divinely assigned limits for the purpose of Loka Samarakshana or the protection of the world. So it is fostered and continued by the great sages, saints and elders for many generations. But in this iron age of Kali, the brainest of the law dismisses it as useless junk. Without vicharana or deep inquiry, without using one's vivekam or power of discrimination, if people examine this Varna Vyavastha with bhaya drishti or externals, or Varna Vyavastha with bahya drishti or external sight, and vyasti bhavam or individual standpoint, how can they arrive at right conclusion? Its sanctifying value will be revealed if you have antardrishti or inner vision and samishti bhavam, collective outlook, and examine it with viveka vicharana or discriminating inquiry. Just as the butter inherent in milk is made patent by the process of churning, so too the quality and purity of the four Varnas will become manifest only through the process of discriminating inquiry. The prejudices will perish, reality will be revealed. Some people propagate the same system, that is the Varna Vyavastha, in a different way, according to which the four Varnas are like the four Angas or limbs of the same body. They have evolved out of the same divine body, the Brahmanas, and from the aperture of the mouth, the Kshatriyas from the hands, and the Vyashas from the thighs, and the Shudras from the feet. Of course, these expressions have a deeper inner meaning. Those who teach like the Guru, the principles of Jnana are the voice, they are the Brahmanas. The strong-armed bear the burden of the earth, they are the Kshatriyas. The social edifice is upheld as on pillars by the able Vyashas, and so they are figuratively described as emanating from the thighs of the divine person. Like the feet that are useful in going around doing all kinds of activities, the Shudras are ever engaged in the basic tasks of the society. The welfare of society will suffer even if a single Varna is slack in its task. Just like the body becoming handicapped if any of its limb is damaged, and all the Varnas are worthwhile, and all Varnas are worthwhile and valuable just as all limbs of the body are important. There is no higher or lower. Hatred and rivalry in society are as harmful as the stoppage of work by the hands and legs in anger against the stomach. A sugar doll is sweet all over. Break off its head and eat it. It is sweet. Break off a leg and eat it. It is as sweet as the head. Then how can the Varnas, which are the limbs of the same divinity, be pronounced different? Karmas or activities are different, but the joy and grief are the same for all. Also, very same red blood flows and animates all. It is the same red blood that flows throughout the body. There is no special variety for the hand or leg or face, isn't it? The system of Varnas is a common dharma ordained by the Vedas, and so there can be no injustice in it. It is not an artifice invented by man. So those who cannot comprehend this Varna Vyavastha and try to create differences and hatred by their inconsiderate remarks about it are only exhibiting their ajnanam or ignorance. It looks as if those who argue that the abolition of the Varna system will bring about human welfare are the only ones anxious to promote human welfare. They probably believe that those who consider the Varna system to be beneficial are really eager to promote the downfall of the human society. Of course, both are delusions. Those who support the Varna Vyavastha are really more interested in the promotion of human welfare than those who oppose it. Opponents of Varna Vyavastha fail to recognize this truth. They think that if the Varna Vyavastha is abolished, they will be saving the country. That is a deluded belief which gives them false satisfaction. All those who support it or oppose it must make deep inquiry, delve into the matters and demerits, and then only can they advise the accepting or discarding of the Varna Vyavastha. Arguing without thorough knowledge of the subject will only exacerbate misunderstandings, produce odd beliefs, and result in hatred. If hatred increases, that will not be beneficial to anyone. To pursue the ideal of all are equal is like running after the lake in the mirage out of Bhranti or delusion. To slake one's thirst, it will only breed discontent. The rulers must now assemble and consult the representatives of the people, namely the Pandits and experienced elders, to inquire and discuss the value of this ancient system of Varna Vyavastha. That will be very useful. Instead, if they just decide on the basis of external forms and features that there is some aspect of destruction in this and run into panic, that will only reveal their avivekam or lack of discrimination. The rulers as well as the Pandits both have the welfare and security of the people at heart. In fact, this Varna system was originated to promote everyone's well-being and security. It has led to many misconceptions and false charges because its proper practices were not always in accordance with the counsel of the wise. It was not practiced on the continued counsels of the wise. Take one small example. Some nations have manufactured bombs that can wipe out lakhs, hundreds, thousands of people at one stroke. Though they know this is ruinous, the rulers are themselves encouraging it by all means. Still, though the scientists have developed the manufacture, who help the manufacture are very learned, it is inevitable to seek the approval of the rulers of the government for its use, isn't it? So, though the rulers have promoted manufacturing of the bombs they use must be justified. If they are used as the whim takes them, ruin will fall on all. When chaos threatens, they are to be used only for the self-defense. The purpose is not the destruction of the world, but the protection of the values of one's own country and culture. Isn't it? So, also the Varanas, the strong guards, are to be treated as weapons to protect the country and culture. For this, the people of all Varanas have to strictly follow their respective tasks. We utilize the weapons only when the situation demands by properly following the rules and regulations, the restrictions and recommendations to defend the people from ruin. Similarly, the Varanas are like the disciplines which have to be honored in the way they are laid down and followed strictly and correctly. To deal with them as the whim dictates without regard to the directing bunds, the limits and the boundaries is to invite the anarchy today. Therefore, the elders of the yore, the great kings, the great pundits and the noble and wise men guarded and fostered this Varana system, followed it with reverence and preserved it until now. Think of this for a while and the truth will flash on the minds of the intellectuals whether it is beneficial or not. If it was ruinous to society, do you mean to say they were all foolish, or was it because they did not have the present type of reading, or were they just brainless? No. Their intelligence, scholarship, spiritual eminence and the deep spirit of inquiry are rarely found today, not even in one among many millions. They were Mahatya Yagis, those who carry out their assigned duties by sacrificing the sense of doership, or karma yogi. Yogis, those who focus their minds on the Lord and always engage in devotion with steadfast faith, that is bhakti yogi. And yodhas, those who win over the world of desires and awake to their real self, jnana yogi, who dedicated all their physical and intellectual and moral strengths for the welfare of the world. They considered their task as the very breath of their life. They were the Maharishis. Even the who genuinely aspired and strived for the welfare of the human community. They were not like the reformers today, who yearn for welfare in a profusion of words, but who undermine the very thing they profess to yearn for by the action of their hands. This type of trick was unknown to the ancient sages. The modern ideas and plans are all hollow and insincere. The present plans are all castles in the air. They cater to the conceit of the planners and do not carry meaning to others. The castles start falling down in one place even while construction work is proceeding in another place. As the body is for the jivi or the individual being, the world is for the Lord. Whatever happens in any part of the body affects the jivi. So too, all that affects any part of the world moves the Lord. He becomes cognizant of it and he responds to it. Just as you are interested in all the limbs of the body being in perfect trim, the Lord too is interested in seeing that everyone in every part of the world is prospering. Can He, will He harm any country which is primarily a part of Himself? In matters relating to the Lord, all are equal. All have equal opportunities to experience God. Each and every limb of the body must do the task allotted to it properly. One limb cannot carry out the duties of another. So too, each Varana must carry out its allotted share of the activities of society without transgressing its limits and contribute its best to the welfare of the country. As the body has different distinct states, society has the Varanas. If all start trading, who will be the buyers? If all are engaged in fighting, who is to provide the wherewithal for the upkeep and maintenance, the food, the armor and the equipment? So, each one has to get his Varana and do his respective share of task with the attitude of contributing to the welfare of the country That is the wise course to follow. Now, instead of attending to essential tasks, people are engaged in the internecine struggle, fearing that the Varanas are great obstacles to progress. How can people who are unable to keep their body under control keep the country within limits? After all, it is best to be concerned about the other important aspects rather than fighting about the Varana system. Consider that the fostering of the Varana system, which has been fostered so long by the ancient, is the most beneficial thing for the country. The Lord has not shown any pakshapatam or partiality while organizing the Varanas. He has no such temperament at all. Some people ask, why should the Lord have Bhedam or differences? No, he has no sense of Bhedam. He is sweet all over as a lump of sugar. All differences and distinctions are kalpanas or imaginations of jivis who are immersed in anatma bhavam or thoughts related to non-self, world related, everything other than self, but not the thoughts of the Lord. Consider this example. A mother has 4 children, but she does not pay the other 3 as much attention and care as she gives to the child in the cradle. Even if the child does not call out for it, she is ever attentive to its needs and is vigilant to give it food, etc. at particular intervals. The other 3 have to come and ask her for food and things to play with. Looking at this only, you cannot pronounce her a bad mother or a partial mother, pouring all her love on her last born child. The mother adjusts her activities to the capacity and ability of the child. So too, though the entire world is his, though all are his children, he has fixed upon each a part of the responsibility of the welfare work of society, according to the capacity and ability of each. To ascribe fault to such Niswaratha, selfless, Nirdoshi, faultless, Niradambara or simple, Nitya Ananda, ever blissful, Paramatma, is like attributing darkness to the sun. Darkness and the rays of the sun cannot exist together. How then can the sun be the home of darkness? People who carp so at the sun do not know the sun at all. It is sheer folly, complete ignorance. Really, from Adhyatmika or spiritual point of view, these Varanas have to be perceived in another way. Those who are Brahmanasthas, those who are Brahmanishthas or established in the contemplation of Brahman are Brahmanas. Those who oppose asatya or untruth are Kshatriyas. Those who have Vyavasvatibmika buddhi or resolute determination through discrimination that helps in sadvicharam are Vaishyas. Those who are karma nishthas and follow satya or truth in everyday life are the Shudras. To attain the Manavatvam or the true nature of man, humanness, all these 4 vrittis are very essential. Now we shall revert to the subject in question. Lord Krishna addressed Arjuna, the 4 Varanas have been created by me on the basis of classification of gunas and karmas. Though I am the karta or doer, so far as they are concerned, I am still a akarta or non-doer. If viewed through the lens of tattva or the fundamental reality, you will realize that karma, which is basically jada or inert or insentient, cannot affect or bind the Atma, which is Chaitanyam. The Atma is inherently a Sangha or devote of attachment. It has no Abhimanam or attachment to action or activity and has no Ahamkaram or Mamkaram, which leads to doership. That is the reason why I am not attached to the karma of Utpatti, that is creation, Sthiti, sustenance and Laya or dissolution of this Jagat or the world or the cosmos. Abhimanam, Ahamkaram and Mamkaram are the marks of Ajnanis or ignorance. Only ignorance are bound by karmas from the perspective of the transactional world. It may appear to common people that I am performing various karmas, but I am truly a akarta or non-doer. Not only this, karma does not cease to affect the doer as soon as it is finished. Karma yields fruits. Phalapeksha results in vasanas. Vasanas bring about further births. Karma Phalapeksha and vasanas continue to manifest in subsequent births. Thus, karma leads to the distressing cycle of birth and deaths. Karma is a vicious whirlpool, making you rotate in the circular currents and finally dragging you down into the depths. Arjuna, be attentive and listen well to another point also. Karma as such has no capacity to bind. It cannot bind by itself. It is the abhimanam or attachment to body, mind with the feeling I am the doer or doership and the desire to earn the fruit of action that are mainly responsible for the bondage. For example, the zero gets value only with the association of a digit. Karma is zero. Kartavya or the feeling of doer is a digit. So, kartavya is causing the bondage. Therefore, Arjuna, give up the sense of abhimanam, and the karma that you do will never harm you. The kind of karma without doership and expectation of rewards is termed as akarma. Karma done without any desire for the fruits thereof will not produce vasanas, and when there are no vasanas, there are no rebirths. The mumukshas or the aspirants of liberation of past ages performed karmas with this high ideal in view that they gained through dedicated vichara or inquiry. They never felt that they were the doers or enjoyers of the fruits of any act. The Lord did. The Lord gave the fruit. The Lord enjoyed the fruit, and we are mere instruments. That was their conviction. This world has only a relative value. It has no absolute existence. There was their faith. That was their faith, Arjuna. You too should cultivate that faith and engage in karmas. If you do so, you will attain chitta shuddhi or purity of mind for sure. In this subject of karmas, know well the distinction between karma and akarma. I shall tell you the main points of difference now. Listen, many aspirants get confused that they try to be clear about this. Not all can grasp the distinction. They take it that swadharma is karma and that all karma done with atma jnanam are vikarmas. Now whatever the karma, if it is done in the darkness and confusion of a jnanam or ignorance, however hard you may have exercised your abilities during the activity, its results can only be kalesham or grief and travail. It can never result in shanti or peace. Man has to find a karma in karma and karma in a karma. That is the hallmark of the wise. People wrongly classify karma into three categories: karma, vikarma and akarma. But vikarna is part of karma. It is covered by the term karma, and so there is no need to posit a special classification called vikarma. According to some, karma means actions that are prescribed by scriptures. Vikarma means actions that must be avoided. That is do's and don'ts. And akarma means inaction. But to explain it in simpler language, understand that all the activities of the deha or body, the indriya senses, the prana or the vital force, the buddhi, intellect and the manas or mind are karmas. Now another perspective of a karma is non-activity too, but the proper meaning of a karma is atma sthiti, the state of atma, just being a witness. It is superimposed on the atma. For example, when people travel in a bus or train or boat, despite the stationary position of the trees and hills on either side, an illusion is created that those are traveling, whereas the people who are actually traveling feel that they are stationary. The movement of the chariot vehicle superimposes the quality of movement on the hill and tree. So too, the person being unaware of the principles enunciated in the Shastras, Vedanta, Upanishads deludes himself by superimposing all the activities of the senses, body, etc. on the Atma, which then is the genuine karma, to attain the experience that the Atma is the non-doer of all the activities of the senses, the body, etc. It will not do if you simply desist from external acts and feel it as a karma. You cannot live or survive without engaging in external acts. It is not possible, not practical. Jai Sai Ram.
साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। ॐ